Okay. Now call the meeting of the Carbon County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, prayer, and pledge of allegiance.
Father, thank you for every body, mind, and heart that fills the presence of this room. Strengthen our confidence in who you are and you have made us to be today. I believe that you will guide us in this meeting so that the positive results can be seen days, months, and even years after today. Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of constituting the accuracy of written minutes. Tapes are reused, eliminating recorded records of these proceedings. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held June 18th, 2020.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time? Seeing none? Seeing none?
Next item is the presentation. Mr. Owen O'Neill, the Executive Director of Lantha.
Did we hand out? Sorry, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna let Owen sit right here.
Yeah, sure.
before-
Okay.
Yeah, Owen, yeah. So we get you on camera.
Okay.
A little bit towards me, Owen.
Okay,
I'll
one more.
keep it, all right.
Alright.
All right, you're good. Oh,
Okay.
whoa.
Not too bad.
No, you're
Get
good.
the thing been around.
Right.
Okay. Send these around here.
Is that one separate or?
This one is separate, yeah. Yeah, so if you, that's all.
One each?
Yeah, one each of
Okay.
that.
All right.
One each of that and then one each of this. Okay.
Oh, what you want?
Appropriate, well, wasn't gonna say it.
Okay, so the first sheet that I handed around is the description of the shared ride fare increase. And the way the shared ride funding structure works in Pennsylvania is that you establish a fare structure which is based on the full cost of the trip. And then for certain trips, the PennDOT pays for 85% of those costs using lottery funds. That's one of the lottery programs that's used for seniors, and that's for people over 65. And then so under the law, what we call the copay, which is the remaining 15%, is what the rider pays when they use the service. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the shared ride service is actually open to the public. Anyone can ride it. They would just have to pay that full fare. And so it's just for seniors that those lottery funds are used to sponsor that 85%. And so this is the structure that we had proposed. It's a process that we go through with PennDOT to show the costs and how we came up with the numbers. And so this is the structure that we had come up with. This maintains the 6-zone structure which we've had in place for a while, and increases each of the zones going forward. And it results in a 90-cent increase for each zone in the copay. And then in what all county area agency on agings have the option to then sponsor part of that 15%. It's not required, but it's something that is an option that the AAAs have. Historically, the Carbon County AAA has sponsored 10% or 2/3 of that 15% for certain trips, like to the senior center, to certain places and things like that. So if that continues, then that would reduce that copay for those continuing for those clients in those trips. So this is the first fare increase in 4 years, and only the second increase in 12 years. So we've tried to keep that, to keep the structure as stable as possible. But after a certain amount of years, you do get to the point where costs obviously increase. It's a door-to-door demand responsive service is an expensive service, especially when there's a significant amount of compliance that goes along with that, a significant amount of insurance for the populations that you're carrying, and to make sure that you are complying with ADA regulations and civil rights regulations, and making sure you're in a lot of ways too, these programs are to some extent entitlement programs. So they are available to the public and to certain target populations, and so we can't necessarily pick and choose to say, well, okay, we'll operate that trip because that's not really costly, but we won't operate that one. And so those are things that kind of contribute to the overall cost structure. And obviously over the years, things increase. And so like I said, it's only our second one in 12 years. That's obviously an average of an increase every 6 years. PennDOT actually would like us to do an increase every 2 years. They don't have to go through the process of increasing it, and what that all entails. So we have tried to keep it as stable as we can. As you said, we did talk about this back in February. Initially, we were going to have, it was going to go into effect on March 17th, and then we delayed that to July 1st due to COVID. We have updated all the tickets, and people can, those tickets are for sale already, the new denominations that match the new fare structure, and they've been up on the website, and they've been available for, people can we have an order form, and people can hand the order form to the driver with a check, and then they get their ticket sent out to them. A couple weeks ago, we did start handing out a reminder notice to people that the fares were going to change, and so we have had several people call and get new tickets and make sure they knew what their fares were going to be. We've also, for the last few weeks, when people call to make reservations, reminding them of the fare increase. So we've been doing quite a bit to, one of the things we took from when we were here in February, we had been posting things on the vehicles, and people said, well, I didn't see it. So this time around, we actually handed a flyer to everyone as they got on the vehicles, so to make sure that people are aware. So that's kind of the structure and the process that we've been following for the fare increase. So. Some of the other things, just wanted to go over some of the other things we've been doing also to kind of mitigate some of the impacts of this. This second sheet that I passed out, one of the new services that we're also going to be rolling out next week on July 1st is what we call the Flex service, which we have is a service that we've also been using down in Lehigh, Northampton on the Lanza side. And basically what it is the fixed route, which up in Carbon County is the Lynx route, has a lower fare because it's fixed and it's on a fixed route in a fixed schedule. So it has a lower fare than the shared ride. But obviously fixed route, you kind of need a little bit of density. You need a population density. You need kind of places to go along the route, and so it doesn't really lend itself very well to the more kind of sparsely populated or rural parts of the county. But what we've done with Flex is kind of combined some of the aspects of fixed route and some of the aspects of the shared ride by saying it's still a door-to-door service, but it's only but we limit the area that they get. It's not like you can, like on shared ride, you can go anywhere in the county. This limits it to a specific area of a specifically defined area, and we limit it to kind of a couple days a week. So that way it lets people make certain trips on those days where it might be available in their area. But the fixed route fare applies to it. And so that's kind of the fixed route component of it. And on fixed route, seniors with a senior transit ID ride for free. So for those couple of days of the week when that service is available in their area, a senior could kind of schedule their trip to the grocery store or their trip to the pharmacy and things like that and not have to pay the shared ride fare. And so we're going to be rolling that service out in the kind of a first pilot zone, which will be kind of the northeast part of the county. And then throughout the year, we've kind of developed 4 zones that we're going to kind of be rolling out throughout the rest of the year. So 2 days a week, it'll be available in all different parts of the county. What we've tried to do is make sure that in each zone, there is or in each area, each flex area, that there is at least a senior center, either a hospital or an urgent care, a pharmacy, and a grocery store, so that people can make sure that they can, those are very common and it's essential trips that people have to make, so that they could potentially kind of schedule those things on the days that the flex is available in their area and really reduce their costs of travel. So that's something. The first one will be rolling out. We don't have a specific timeline for the other zones, and we list what the other zones would be, kind of breaking it up into kind of northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, kind of a look. These aren't set in stone. One of the things we would go back over these with the AAA and make sure, they may say, people who live in Weissport go to the Lehighton Senior Center, or, and make sure that we kind of have it right that way. But this is kind of the general thing that we're looking to do, and kind of roll those out as we work out the bugs with the Jim Thorpe Penn Kidder one, and then kind of roll it out to the other areas of the state hopefully by the end of the year, is what we're thinking.
Owen, a question. For the first rollout, the JT Penn Kidder Flex Truck,
Yeah.
is there anything that graphically depicts this? Pictures worth 1,000
Yeah.
words, so I'm wondering if there's something that graphically.
Yeah, there is we do have a page on the website, and we do have a flyer that we're,
Okay.
and it has them, kind of shows.
Yep, the
on a
route.
map, and
Okay.
it shows what the area is and, on a map and how it's defined and things like that, so. So we're thinking that that's gonna work. And one of the things that, this has, the fare increase on the shared ride kind of helps us to do this, because the shared ride fare has been kind of artificially low for a while, that we get funding for the fixed route operations, and then we get funding for shared ride. Because the shared ride fare has been kind of too low, we've had to use kind of fixed route funding to make up the difference. And now with the shared ride fare being correct and covering costs, then we can use the fixed route funding to pay for flex and things like that. So, and some of the other improvements to the links. And that's one of the things some of the other things we're doing. We're working on the links route. We've been working with LVHN and St. Luke's to identify all the medical facilities and making sure that they are on the fixed route, the links route. And we're also looking to, in the past, the links has always kind of, there was, kind of did one thing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and another thing on Mondays and Wednesdays, and a different thing on Friday. And what we're doing now is we're starting to develop a consistent schedule, kind of 5 days a week, that's just gonna do kind of the same route for 5 days a week, and kind of on a consistent frequency. And so we're starting to kind of build to that. That's one of the improvements that we're kind of putting in place now. And then we're working on improving connections with Atlanta services, Atlanta bus services, and then with Schuylkill County services too. So that kind of is more cost effective, instead of running carbon buses into Schuylkill County or into Lehigh County. You might as well, there's already buses there, just kind of work on allowing people to connect to those buses. So that's another thing we're looking to work into the schedule too. And then the other thing we're looking to do this year is rebranding the system. We've been doing a lot of talk just with riders and with the chamber and some of the other stakeholders, and kind of coming up with ways that we can make it more recognizable, and also be able to kind of communicate the difference between the services, that there is a fixed route service here, and then there's a shared ride service, and working to kind of allow people to kind of differentiate that and understand that. So those are some of the things we've been working on too, and rolling out over the next few months. Yeah.
Owen, question? Yeah, Owen, does the new Flex CCCT Flex,
Mhm.
is that gonna demand any more resources in the way of buses? Because we spoke, and this was 5 months ago, maybe
Yeah.
it was March, about the optimal number of buses
Mhm.
taken into consideration in service, in maintenance, and in reserve.
Mhm.
Is this gonna create any greater demand on the number of buses that are needed?
No, because the nice thing about the flex service, and kind of what we did down in Atlanta too, is it's fully kind of incorporated into the shared ride system already.
Mhm.
So you have vans out there going around anyway, so if you have a flex trip, you just go and you pick that person up and bring, so it's, so on the flex route, we don't dedicate a van to flex.
Right.
It's just like, there's just flex trips, so someone might get on the van and they're riding under flex, but the person sitting next to them is riding
Right.
under shared ride or,
Mhm.
or something, so.
Mhm.
So it kind of uses the capacity that's out there already.
Right. We had previously found it necessary to suspend fixed route
Mhm.
into Northampton County, right? We
Mhm.
stopped
Right.
at Palmerton.
We stopped at Palmerton,
Right,
right,
and
yeah.
that was when we were transitioning and
Right. Mhm.
they were not. And now, in the meantime, if I recall correctly, the terminus was more or less the Kmart, is that correct?
And on certain trips, and then certain trips went all the way down to the Lehigh Valley Mall.
Down to the Lehigh
Yeah.
Valley.
Right.
So my understanding is the Kmart is closing.
Right.
There, so
Yes.
therefore, we no longer need to do that,
Right.
and that will be eliminated.
Yeah, and what
Yep.
we're planning to do is have the Carbon route end in Palmerton.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
and then
Mhm.
have the Lanta route that ends in Walmartport come into Palmerton, and then they can make connections there, because that route, that Lanta route goes down, goes to El Tri-C, Schnecksville, and then goes to the mall. So it would kind of be a better way, so if people needed to go to those places, we can just kind of line it up so they can transfer to that bus, instead of running a Carbon bus all the way down along a route that's already being covered by a Lanta bus.
Okay.
So it kind of just makes more sense to use those resources instead.
So I have one more question, and this is actually gonna feed into a further down the line item. We talked about the optimal number of buses, right?
Mhm.
We currently have how many buses?
14.
14.
Mhm.
And what's the optimal number in the fleet that is needed, taken into consideration in service, in
Mhm.
maintenance, and reserve?
Right. That is, we're basically at that level now. 14 is the right number.
Is the right number?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. Okay, perfect, thanks.
Yeah. And I should note too, I do want to say that, just in terms of kind of what we've been doing during COVID and kind of what is happening now, the shared ride system, well, as you remember, the link system, we suspended it and stopped. We have since brought it back, I guess now 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
We brought it back 3 days a week. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we're kind of, and basically it's just it goes from Palmerton to Coaldale. So that goes into the St. Luke's Miners Hospital
Yeah.
in Coaldale. And so basically kind of running the same route, a few trips a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And what we're just kind of monitoring ridership. Ridership hasn't come back up to pre-COVID normal levels yet. So, and just monitoring people's requests and things like that. And so that as ridership continues to tick up and people are asking for more, maybe we'll kind of go back to 5-day. But the plan is kind of to keep that 5-day, that it would always just be Coaldale to Palmerton. The kind of the same route, rather than what we used to have where we'd kind of do one thing on Tuesdays and one thing on Thursdays. We kind of think the consistency of the same route 5 days a week will help to generate knowledge of it and interest in it and things like that. So that's the plan. And then on the shared ride side, we never curtailed the availability of the service. We never said, oh yeah, we're not, we're only going to run during these hours now, or we're only going to run 3 days a week, whatever. We kept it 5 days a week during the hours that were always available. It's a reservation-based service, so the riders themselves limited the amount of service, because it went down. We were down about 2/3 or so. And it fluctuates from Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays are a little higher because there's just more people on Monday, Wednesday, Friday dialysis schedules than Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But we kept it running. It was, the vast majority of the trips were dialysis. Probably 85, 90% of the people riding were going back and forth to dialysis. But we were able to kind of keep that going. But we're starting to see a slight tick back up now. But it's still down to about, it usually ranges from about 50 to 75 trips a day, whereas we used to be like 125 to 175 trips a day. So it's still down, but we're starting to see like kind of a slight tick back up. And so that's just a question, we have the capacity to, as trips start to come back up, that we would just be able to add and accommodate those trips.
The reason I asked about the bus is because I want people to understand when we go to item 20295, why is the Agency on Aging requesting an additional bus? So again, it's not like we have reserves that we can go.
No, that's for another purpose
Yeah,
altogether.
exactly, yeah. Thank you all.
Okay.
Let's go through the motion.
I'll make that motion on discussion, because I'd like to have a discussion on this first.
Okay.
We need a second, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm just going back to, there were a lot of questions, but when this first started off, like you and I had conversations with other entities about sponsoring, doing things like that. And this does tie into the next motion. And I think all the three commissioners, we were all on board with this, with everything, that the ultimate goal would be to not charge anything to the seniors, but that's probably not gonna happen. But we are providing them with better services. I see, this is happening, it's working with this. But one of the things that we did talk about was having sponsors, as maybe sponsoring tickets that could be handed out, at the senior centers or the seniors, at least maybe it would give them half of the trip, If it's a 60-cent ticket or whatever. And there were a lot of, like, we had talked to the local hospitals, and they were thinking about that, and once these hospitals are running, they were talking about maybe getting an additional bus to run to them facilities.
Right.
So I like to see that,
Yeah.
and I think it's going in that direction.
Right.
And I said, I think everybody should know, we're trying to work in this direction, that it's the less cost to the consumer.
Right.
And it's like I said, we're providing services that are really increasing in value,
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
and so, but we wanna look on the other side to save money too.
Yeah,
And that's, that was our ultimate goal, and I said, you gotta increase to get, we can't regulate the increase of the trip, but we can regulate the way that it could be paid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can get them sponsors or whatever, and that next motion is one of the things that we're willing to do. So
Right.
I think we're gonna have to try to get everybody on board, and we did have that negotiations with
Yeah.
other entities back 3 months ago. I'd like to see that start
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, right. And we have reached out, we were, basically had something in place with LVHN, and then we were having conversations with St. Luke's, and then, the world got turned upside down.
Yeah, I know.
And so we are starting to, but we've re-engaged with LVHN, so we're having those conversations, and we'll, St. Luke's had said, we'd like to talk to you again once all this things calm down, so we will definitely re-engage with them.
Yeah, and there's a good connection now. I think like if you get a complaint, if we tell you, that'll be addressed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't in the past, but,
Mhm.
we're a little bit more pertinent on trying to get this finished.
Yeah, right.
Rocky, and I think too, this next motion or the motion
Yeah.
that you were gonna really literally buys us time to work, rework those now
Yeah.
that things are opening
Right,
up a little
right,
bit.
yeah.
And the biggest problem we have here is being a rural county. The biggest complaint we have, and probably the most difficult to solve, is the transportation issue in Carbon County, because we're so rural, and the cost, to make it cost effective is the challenge.
Right.
It can be accomplished, but what are the taxpayers willing to pay for that convenience?
Right, yeah. And as Commissioner Hayner just said, in Carbon County, you have offered a higher level of service than some other rural counties where they do kind of say like it's only a couple days a week, or you can only go here, you can only go there. So this is it is a higher level of service that's provided here.
Yeah, it's good and it keeps getting better as the days go on.
Right. Mhm.
Okay.
Call,
Right.
proceed.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Next item for your consideration.
That'd be 2291, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Move to transfer the funds.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
I think maybe we should
Yeah.
discuss, Wayne, if you wanna.
Yeah, if I may, Alyssa,
Explain
while we
this
have
again.
you on here, she's a guest, if you would like, have any questions at this time?
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask, are you able to stay for like a one-on-one interview, Owen, after the meeting?
Sure.
Okay, that'd be
Mhm.
great, then I can just ask you, because I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
And take up the time.
Kelly, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The rate fair takes effect when? July 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st, correct, yeah.
Okay, and on the flex service,
The
what is the senior fare?
The senior fare, if they have one of those senior transit IDs, which there's just a one-page application that they have to fill out, which is either on the website or the senior centers have them too. Then on the flex service, the senior fare will actually be free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just like the fixed route, the Lynx bus, seniors ride for free on that. So on the flex, they actually ride for free as well.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Okay.
Further questions? Okay.
So if I could emphasize, look, for the next 7 months, based upon the passing of this resolution, for those area agency on aging sponsored seniors, which is almost, will be about 8,000 one-way trips between now and December, based on historical averages, there will be no direct fare increase, out-of-pocket expense to the seniors who are sponsored. That's what that second resolution primarily does.
And and actually, we still have, luckily, we hadn't trashed them yet, we still have the old tickets on the old, right? So we'll continue to sell those for people who are taking those trips, those sponsored
Okay.
trips. Yeah.
Yes, Kelly.
How much is that going to cost the county?
2,000, we're estimating $2,390 some dollars.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right? Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay, the next item is the opening of bids, Carbon County Correctional Facility Water Storage Tank Maintenance Project. We have one bidder, Mid-Atlantic Storage Systems Incorporated, out of Washington Courthouse, Ohio. The total amount bid, $156,592.
Okay, there is a 10% bid bond.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion and move that we table this for a period not to exceed 2 weeks. Pass it to our county engineer in order to review the technical specifications and make a recommendation to either accept or reject the bid.
I'll second that.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The report of executive sessions held.
There was one executive session held on Wednesday, June 24th at 9 a.m. for personnel reasons.
Next item, department reports, the budget transfers.
Move to approve.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Expenditures, approval of payroll check numbers 72459 through 72500, and direct deposit check numbers 6020524 through 6020940 for for the payroll paid through the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $559,615.88. This is the payroll dated June 19, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes,
Approval of check numbers 214063 through 214168 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account totaling $300,910.91.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
The treasurer's report?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
Next item is a resolution for adoption authorizing the County of Carbon to join with other local government units as a settler of the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes. At this time, I'd ask our treasurer, Ron Sheehan, to elaborate on this action.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. Just a little bit of background. What we have just entered is an agreement to join Pliget, which basically stands for Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust. It was created in 1981, so it's been around for a while, and currently serves over 3,000 public entities and has over $5 billion in invested funds. Because they are a trust, their transactions are handled through PFM, which is the Public Financial Management Group. As a trust amongst PA, Pennsylvania governments, it operates much in the same manner as we join P-Corps for insurance purposes. At present, since 2004, our county depository has been Mock Chunk Trust Company, and I just want to note that we have always had a good relationship with Mock Chunk Trust. As of last Friday, we had $42.5 million being held on deposit at Mock Chunk Trust. Our rate at Mock Chunk Trust is Fed funds minus 25 basis points. In the past, that has served us quite well. However, just a brief history, back in August 1st of last year, we were paid 2%. In September, that rate had dropped with the Fed funds rate down to 1.75. On October 31st of last year, it went down another quarter of a point to 1.50. On March 3rd, as the pandemic was starting, the Fed funds rate moved and we went from 1.5 to 1%. And of course, on March 17th, the Fed fund dropped its largest drop, and we went down to 0.25%. As with everyone else, Carbon County has felt the financial strain, and we have been seeing some strains on our revenues, such as parking, parks and recreation, filing fees, fees for services within the offices, while still providing all of the county services. Our county budget was based on a 1.5% interest revenues. So normally, our county policy would be to shop for certificates of deposits through the local banks. However, these funds, because of the uncertainty of the county's finances, it was decided that these funds needed to stay liquid. So because of the liquidity factor, also the fact of social distancing would make it very time-consuming for us to shop multiple banks to try to get a liquid bank account and get rates back in a normal period of time. The reason for the timing for this happening now is, of course, we had to wait for the commissioners to get some solid numbers on your capital projects, because that's where the bulk of these monies are sitting. I believe last week you presented the plan for Susquehanna Street project. So we're going to have some idle cash from this, and that's where the bulk of the movement may be. With that being said, there's nothing against us possibly doing some CD transactions through local banks in the future, but right now, this was the more crucial and most prudent thing to do at the time because of the monies involved. Although we're not taking the action today, the thought is amongst the commissioners in informal conversations, we're looking at about $950,000 in operating reserve funds, $750,000 in parking lot funds, and $8 million in capital projects funds. That's basically your bond issues. All of the above would be with Pliget Prime, which is currently paying us 0.46%. With the capital projects, there would be an additional one-year CD of $5 million. Presently, that rate is being quoted at 0.60. All of these rates that I'm giving you today are net of any fees. So it's truly an apples to apples. The rates that I'm giving you are the rates we're going to be paid. And that is apples to apples to the 0.25 of Mock Chunk Trust because our banking relationship is a no-fee relationship. So the rates I'm quoting are the rates we'll be receiving. So again, the investments aren't being made today. The ending dollar amounts could be more or less pending the rates that will be quoted to us when we go to settlement, which I'm anticipating to move this money on Wednesday, July 8th.
Ron, I thought we were at least in initial discussions, I hope I didn't miss it, about the COVID block grant funds.
Well,
And understanding that we probably won't be dispersing until more or less the beginning of September.
Right. So your COVID block grant monies will be, when they are received, will be going into the general fund. So it becomes part of the general fund. When we say that we're going to be investing possibly more monies, it would be the general fund, not necessarily COVID money.
Right.
Because if you remember last week, we had $11 million worth of tax revenue. And the COVID money has to be spent by year end, I believe.
Right.
So we're not labeling it as COVID money,
Right.
but yeah, in a sense, that money will be part of the overall investment plan. Yeah, very good
So there's a
question.
potential additional 5.79 million.
Exactly, yeah,
Got it,
yeah.
okay.
And the thing with COVID, it's not that we don't want to invest, we have till the end of the year, but we want to get the money out
Right.
into the hands of the people. So I want to elaborate on that, probably at the end of the meeting when I'm talking on the further business, but it's going to be short term, we want to get the money out as soon as possible, and I'll go into more detail like I did last
Yeah,
week.
and just to give you an idea, as of last Friday, you had 15.8 million in the general fund. So if that COVID money came in, you'd be looking at almost 21 million there.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that we're parking the COVID money,
Right.
but we do have the flexibility of taking some of the general fund money out at 0.25 and getting something a little bit higher. So,
And even if they're in CDs, we can take it out within a limited time that that we don't have a penalty on the money.
well, with the CDs, we are committing to
Yeah.
having that money there.
Right.
That's the reason for the liquidity.
Right.
But even on a liquid basis, 0.46, 0.47 versus 0.25, when you're talking millions of dollars, does add up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone,
Do you gentlemen have any questions?
I know, very well done.
Yeah.
And just wanted to reiterate or echo Ron's comment about Mock Chunk Trust. They've been a good partner over the years and continue to be, and there's
Yeah.
absolutely no reason. It's nothing personal against them, and unfortunately, they're gonna be losing that investment money themselves. So it's a business decision on behalf of the county, but as all the banks, not only Mock Chunk, but Jim Thorpe, et cetera, and all the banks we've dealt with in the past have always been very cooperative and good to work with. So,
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, next item is the personnel report.
Move to, second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes.
Correspondence was received as listed. Copies will be made available to the press upon request. Advertising, authorize the advertisement of a notice of Section 504 officer and grievance process required for the CDBG fiscal year 2020 and CDBG CV application.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes,
Area Agency on Aging. A request was received from the Area Agency on Aging to purchase a 2020 Ford Transit 350 passenger van for the senior center under CoStar's contract number 026133. Total cost $45,050.14.
I will make that motion on discussion.
I'll second it, yeah.
And this is just more or less like, I'm not gonna give my report at the end of the meeting. I just wanna explain how this came about. There have been people asking about it, where this money came from. And this is one of the things that, the negative things that have happened with COVID, there is a silver lining to the cloud. With the seniors, they have canceled the senior games, they closed senior centers for months, and now that's something that is probably, we're getting into reopening in different stages, maybe doing a morning session, an afternoon session, try to get everything back, and it was other activities. And when this started off, I was actually on a mission, I think, to get them a van. And what wound up happening, because I was using their van for the food distribution. And they took the seats out, and I think we were trying, like with Owen Day Cruise things. And Sue Ziegler and Ann Horrigan sort of beat me to the punch. With these things that, you can't say we saved, but it was, we didn't spend on these events that we're having. And this is where they actually came up with the money to pay for this van. It's in their budget, it's no cost to us. And like I said, my hat's off to like Sue Ziegler and Ann Horrigan. I mean, I mean, they did a wonderful job at this to improve. And you look at the aging, like somebody might complain about aging or something here and there. They are doing their job and they're looking out for the best interest of the people. And like I said, my hat's off to them and their staff and the aging.
This does replace a van that they had before, was taken out of service and et cetera, so I'm not sure, is that the problem you were?
Well, actually, the van that they had, it was almost like back to safety issues. It was, it was a fairly new van. I can't say it was old, but it was the one like you got in it, it had bench seats. Are there seat belts there? They're climbing over top of each other. And for seniors to go on a trip like that, like I was hauling the food and it's rattling, I'm thinking like, I think the seniors deserve a little bit more than this. And like I said, Ann and Sue like helped us out 100% on this.
Rocky, does this require a CDL license?
No,
Good.
no, it does not.
Okay.
No, it's, and the one that they're replacing is actually a 15 passenger.
Right, yeah.
Now, this is a 14, but it has comfortable seats and, if they gotta take a trip, if they're going for an hour, it's much better than riding on the frame.
Yeah.
How many passengers?
There's a 14.
14. So it's pretty big. I mean, it isn't, it's, anybody could drive it. I mean, I think they have a couple people that are
Yeah.
regular drivers. I mean,
Right, yeah.
it's not that somebody's just gonna jump in and take off with it.
Most of the cases, it's the senior center.
Yeah, the
managers,
directors,
and
usually the directors of the senior centers.
Okay.
All right,
Mr. Arner?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes,
Next item is the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant for ratification. The electronic execution of the agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant number 73991 in the amount of $5,796,203.
Move to ratify.
Second,
Mr. Arner?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
Along with that is a resolution authorizing the execution of the grant agreement with DCED for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Number 73991 in the amount of $5,796,203.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Planning and Development, a cooperation agreement, Family Promise. For approval and execution, the cooperation agreement between the county and Family Promise for the fiscal year 2018 CDBG grant fund in the amount of $50,000.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Next agreement is the cooperation agreement between the county and Family Promise for the local share account grant, contract number 73312, in the amount of $30,000.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner? Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
A CDBG change order. Change order number 1 to the contract with APM Construction Incorporated of Lansford, Pennsylvania for Parks and Recreational Facilities Ginter Field Rehabilitation Project Building, Summit Hill Borough, fiscal year 2016-2017. Due to changes in the contract, the cost was increased $5,000 for a new total contract price of $110,650.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
ZNA Financial Consultant for approval and execution, an amendment to the agreement with Zomkowski Axelrod LLC for financial consulting services for the year 2020, increasing the not-to-exceed fee from $87,500 to $147,500 due to additional services related to the county's COVID-19 relief block grant.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The Solicitor's Report?
Thank you, Agency on Aging, for approval and execution. An agreement with Tamaqua Adult Daycare to continue to provide adult daycare services for the term July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2023 at an increased rate of $63.32 per day. The previous rate was $62.08 per day.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Addendum to the PERS agreement for approval and execution. First addendum for the provision to the personal emergency response system contract with Valued Relationships of Franklin, Ohio to add mobile PERS at $30 per month and mobile with fall detection at $35 per month.
Move to approve and execute as amended, right? Detection versus detention.
I was wondering what that meant. You got ankle bracelets there?
Maybe we need detention and together. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The Sheriff for approval and execution. Clear program agreement with Thomas Reuters to aid in locating and apprehension of defendants wanted on outstanding warrants. Was submitted for approval. Total cost of Total cost is $162 per month for 3 years. 3% increase each year, and after 3 years, and 7% increase each year thereafter.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Treasurer for approval and execution, an agreement between the Carbon County Treasurer's Office and Pennsylvania Game Commission relative to the new Pennsylvania licensing software system. This replaces the previous contract dated October 30th, 2008.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Nothing further.
Okay.
Further business?
Under further business, I want to go back to this COVID block grant. Last Thursday afternoon, I guess, after the meeting again, we got short notice that we had to get the contract signed within 3 days again. always takes them forever to do something and they want it done now. So we did manage to get that executed. We will be receiving the funds shortly. Be going into the, well, we'll be receiving them soon. The agreement here, you saw on here with Axelrod for consulting services, that will come out of the administration fee, or that $115,000, I think, but the agreement just increases other agreement, which is about $50-some thousand above what he is doing. We have signed have the agreement with Mr. Weiss now, and we also appointed one of our staff members full-time to a COVID grant coordinator position. And where we're at with that, with the, and that's all covered on the grant administration fee. We have met with the Carbon County Community Foundation, County Chamber, Economic Development Corporation, and a few others. And I wasn't at the meeting on Monday, but they talked to the commissioners from Monroe and Pike County because of a joiner board and how they're gonna handle those funds and the distribution for the MHDS or end of that. So they're pretty sure they have an
Per
agreement there.
capita,
Yeah,
they're gonna send
so
a per
we are
capita
working
request.
on putting those committees together. We have a few, each entity is gonna be picking a few people, maximum 5, to review the applications. We are in the process of developing an application for all the entities. You will have to specify under what category you are falling, whether, what funds were expended. You must have your invoices, et cetera, to receive the funding. The applications will be sent back here. They will be reviewed by the coordinator here first, and Jeff, and they'll review them. At that point, they'll be turned over to the committee members for the various groups, nonprofits, municipalities, business, tourism, some of the separate groups that we have or committees. For review, they'll come back with their recommendations to the commissioners, and we will proceed then with the, trying to figure out how we would distribute or who gets what and what percentage. My fear is that that sounds like a lot of money after the administration fee and everything else is only about just short of $5.7 million. So it's a lot of work in the meantime. That's why when we talked about the investment today with Pliget, that it's going to take that long till we get the applications put together. We hope to have them out the middle of next month sometime. Give them a couple of weeks to apply for it, and then till we go through the applications and verify all the information is correct, et cetera. Hopefully award it sometime late August and proceed with starting to distribute those funds. I don't know if I missed any other key points on
Well,
that.
I think-
Well, the one thing I do want to point out, we are getting a lot of calls when we're getting the money and how to do this. The applications will be online as soon as they are ready. My recommendation is that you start, our recommendation, I should say, start getting your paperwork in order now. Make sure you have all the proper invoices to verify your expense on COVID-related issues. It cannot backfill any government, municipality shortfalls, so.
Yeah, and I think that was, he more or less hit it. Like, everybody should have their documentation, even if you spend $100 for plexiglass at a mom and pop store. That's, this is not something that you have to have a specific dollar amount. If you have $100, or if you think that you had functions throughout the year that you had for several years in the past, and you think, okay, I lost X amount of dollars this year because we had to cancel our event, try to keep all of them together and present that to us, because us three here are gonna be the ones that are making the decision. I mean, they can present all, we have all these other people that we're thankful that they're helping us do the paperwork. But it's like, we're looking to the small businesses and people that didn't get for the last 4 months.
In regard to who is gonna be served by this, I think there's an important part. I saw in the Times News last night a editorial. And it says, in Pennsylvania, granted waivers for businesses to remain open but refuse to provide the criteria used. The names of businesses granted waivers are those that were refused. So there's a significant transparency aspect of this program. And my, discussions with Jeff from Axelrod and the administrator and with the fellow commissioners is we need to ensure transparency in this process for credibility of the process. Therefore, ensuring that the public has the information to understand the process, understanding the committees and who will be making the recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, and then who has applied and what they received, and why they received or did not receive what they requested for. So we'll make a concerted effort to be as transparent as we possibly can, respectful of some privacy information that may be contained in the application process. But we have a good plan in place right now. We have flexibility moving forward, and we are, as Chairman Nutzing highlighted, going to get those funds out as quickly as we possibly can in a responsible manner.
One of the questions that did came up from a nonprofit on the purchase of equipment for of $40,000 for a piece of equipment that's COVID related. Here's the problem, when we have so many applications, we cannot guarantee that we'll be able to fully fund that $40,000 for that piece of equipment. Because I suspect that many businesses, many nonprofits, and other agencies are gonna be applying for this funding. So it's gonna be a very difficult decision for all of us, the committees and the commissioners. We're gonna have a lot of unhappy people, but we are only given so many dollars, and we are given the guidelines, and this is what we have to follow, so we're gonna try to make it as fair as possible, in the distribution of those funds. So we'll do what we can and go from there. Okay. That's all I have on the further business today.
Commissioners' reports, Mr. Arner?
None.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yeah, I have a couple things. First and foremost, I want to thank the treasurer and controller for the efforts over the past couple of months, really to look at some significant issues and help us maximize the funds and resources we have in consideration of some of the revenue cash flow challenges we're having. I want to mention just a simple little thing. The retirement board in its last meeting, we had 19 individuals who were still receiving paper checks. The retirement board went and decided that we would all convert to direct deposit. Again, just a small thing. But I'd also say that we worked together to relieve the county of being a guarantor for St. Luke's Hospital with those bond issues. Pretty significant. A third, the Pliget that we're taking, those really resources that are just sitting there and getting actually more out of them than we currently were. And then, just got notification a couple months ago, we mentioned in this setting the refinance of the 2017 bond issue. That has taken place, and we projected a total savings over the period of that issue of about $640,000. Well, fortunately, and I will say by the grace of God and by luck, instead of $640,000 in long-term savings for the county, with this refinance, if I could use the term, of the bond issue, the county will be saving, and the taxpayers directly, $742,000 over the period of this bond issue, which goes to 2041. And again, we're not extending how long we'll be paying that particular service. So our grandchildren will not have to pay this. Fact is, we'll go ahead and save, the number is about $44,000 per year based on that. So that's a lot going on there. Rocky, you didn't see this, but when we were up in Weatherly, I think in February, right up at the Weatherly Center,
Okay.
and we had seniors who came to us in regards to a pool table.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
we just got word today that grant was approved, so the senior center in Weatherly. So this has been a good day for seniors, right? We were able to offset the potential
They got a van
cost
and a pool
increase.
table
They got,
there.
and now they have a van to get there, you know, they might have a few bucks for a coffee.
No, that's good. And I said, I think you
Yeah.
can see it like even with us, and even like what he was talking about, the financing.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of areas that they'll refinance and save money on, they extend the years. We're trying to keep it what it is and maybe possibly get the years off of
Get
it, that
more out of
we
it.
don't
Yep.
extend it way out.
Yep.
You know, so I said, I hope everybody sees what we're trying to do here with everything.
I'll mention, because it hasn't formally come out on the NEPA website yet, it should be there in a hyperlink very shortly here. The final draft of the parking analysis for Jim Thorpe is published. It's about a 14 megabyte document, and that's why it hasn't been emailed around yet. But the borough of Jim Thorpe and the county has been provided that. And in that regard, again, we're not sitting passively and gonna sit this on the desk or sit it on the shelf and allow it to collect dust. Already, we have been in contact with the borough of Jim Thorpe. Last night at the Jim Thorpe Tourism Agency meeting, talking about the results of this and what might be in the realm of the possible to actually take action on sometime in the future. Working with planning and development, there will be congestion mitigation and air quality funds available in 2025 that could be used and focused towards some of the recommendations in here, to include many of them that have to do with pedestrian safety. The extension of the walkway, where we have some problems with the walkway across from the subway, where we have PennDOT, Railroad, County, and Borough Equities involved. We have some quote-unquote illegal, would be now illegal parking spots along Lehigh Avenue. Another area that could be assisted with this. And importantly, I think the railroad crossing that, got to give a shout out to Reading and Blue Mountain Northern Railroad because of their quick response to at least a temporary help with mitigating the risk of folks crossing that railroad. But again, there is a longer term fix available, and there is a recommendation in this study that
I
we
think
can
our
look at.
challenge will be to get the railroad and the state to
Yeah.
the table for
Yep.
cooperation. That
Yep.
will be our big challenge. I think we have the support of the local people
Yep.
willing to do something, but if you don't have all the players at the table that need to make some of the major decisions, we go nowhere.
Yeah. So again, opportunity there, and we are already looking to see, what might be in the realm of the possible to work. We hit green phase, Rocky. We always say green doesn't mean go here in Pennsylvania, it seems, except when you're sitting at the red light. In this factor, it is time that we kind of take a retrospect look at where we were, what we encountered, and how we can prepare for the future. So what I'm gonna offer myself up to start taking a look over about a 90-day period to talk to the courts, to the row offices and our departments to figure out, what were the challenges we faced, how did we confront them, and what could we do better? So we can prepare, just like we do in any type of management, we can prepare for a future next wave or the next time we have to confront this. That's all I have.
As far as that's concerned, I still encourage people to make appointments to the various
Yeah.
offices, so we don't have everyone coming in at one time. I also encourage everyone to do as much as possible online. My biggest fear, and that of many, is that people think they're in green, they can just do what they want. However, watching the news again this morning, I see one state is seeing a surge in COVID patients, in particular the younger people. And they may be living at home, and they're going home to their parents or elderly grandparents without even knowing sometimes that they are even carrying the COVID-19. We cannot let our guard down. We're still gonna ask everyone to wear the mask when possible, as well as social distancing. We're still looking at the plexiglass. I think we have most of them covered. We still want to take all safety precautions, and it's not over yet. It won't be over for quite some time, I fear. My worst fear right now. So please be cautious. Try to especially distance yourself from those non-believers that are not wearing the mask, etc. Okay? That's all I have today. Meeting adjourned. Kelly?
Well,
Good?
he answered everything during the meeting, thank you.
The only thing I have is just about the COVID money that you guys are gonna be, and I don't know if you know this, but are there any more details about how you're gonna decide, like, how much money different entities can get, or is that all kind of based
We
on?
haven't really talked about that.
No, that's a tough one.
It is, and I think we have to wait until we get those applications back, see who is applying, what funds are gonna be available. Maybe one category won't require a lot of money, and another one will. And if we may have to go to a percentage, maybe, everybody's gonna request 10 million, and we think they're all worthy, we may have to just make it, each one gets 50% to be fair, I don't know. It's, per capita, and we're gonna have to identify maybe issues that are of higher, safety concerns, that are, taking more proactive precautions, that we can prevent something, and maybe we'll contribute more to something like that, but it's, you know, I said, people aren't gonna be happy, but, you know, these are not gonna be easy decisions for anyone involved, whether it be the committee, people that are, have volunteered their time to work with us, as well as the commissioners. It's all up in the air, and, we'll do what we can.
I didn't know if there was any guideline coming out from the state as far as like a maximum
Well,
amount.
there's very few,
There's a very few, I'm sure.
We'll get them in January.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago, we had a call from an employer with over 100 people wanting to know when they were getting their money. Unfortunately, they are one of the people, if you employ over 100 people, you don't qualify. So those are the better education as far as getting it out there, who is really eligible, so.
And I think one of the things, like, I think a lot of people, and they are calling here, and we gotta answer their question, but I think the most important for them to do is possibly wait a week, you know what I mean? Till we get things in place, because what we could tell them today might not apply to what we're gonna implement, you know what I mean? And we don't know, are we gonna get 50 or 500, you know what I mean? That's gonna, like, the first month is gonna be tough for us, I think, trying to weed through all that stuff.
Next 2 months.
But like Wayne said, when we get that money, we want it out of here, because then people have suffered long enough, and we wanna get it back out in the streets.
Well, listen, and on our at least tentative schedule, we have asked that the committees be formed by Friday, and then we'll go ahead. We're also taking different input from those committees to create the application that'll be utilized and then eventually disseminated. In regards to the amount, percentage, ratio, you know, there is a recommendation of potentially doing a survey. If you were to apply for a grant, how much would you request? And that would go out to the businesses, the nonprofits, and those types of entities to at least give us a ballpark figure of what we can expect. But the reality is, until those applications come in, you know, say be it 1 August and we have our deadline, I don't think we're really gonna be able to make an honest decision before then. And again, we also know that it goes through the end of December. So do we want to expend $5.79 million minus the admin fee when more requirements may be coming up that have a higher priority a little bit later? You know, that we just don't foresee, or potential applicants don't
To
foresee.
begin with, it has to be spent by the end of December. You have to spend it, you can't have it obligated
Yeah.
or committed.
Yeah.
You have to spend it, so in looking at the application process, what might be coming up, I think we have to set a deadline of maybe November 1st, that any expenses up until then, because we can't wait till December 30th to make a decision and pay them today.
You're gonna have to go all back through that committee process, right, a transparent process, to get it back to a board decision.
I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had some from Amy that weren't answered yet, so from the Times News. And I'm gonna pass this to Mr. Nosey. So the bids for the water storage tank project at the prison is different than the one you just rejected, correct?
Yeah.
This is the second project up there?
Yeah, this is the second project. There's actually two projects. One is the tank renovations, inspection. We have to clean the sediment out. There's some small leaks, some corrosion issues that we have to. Is the other part, the other big project which we're opening in a week or two is the pump house repairs, the leaks, the corrosion, the rusted pipes, etc., the pumping system and control system. We have to now manually operate when the tank level starts to get down. We gotta flip the switch on. The control's not working properly. The tank level gauge, we had no, they're not operating properly to alarm us when it is low. As far as the other project, the piping, control panel, the pumps, all have to be replaced. Because they are over 25 years old, the pipes are rusting, and I showed pictures before of all the leaks and everything, the chlorination system, etc. There's DEP regulations that changed, so we'll be addressing that issue as well as getting our maintenance people certified and doing the testing and everything at the prison. We are specifying in the specs that before we shut down, you must have all the necessary equipment, at least in your shop or on site. Not that we shut it down, start working on it and find out a pump or a control panel cannot be delivered for 2 months, because then we're up to crest. So all the equipment, everything needed is required to be on site or in your shop before we even proceed with those bids. So it's gonna be a long process. It's a good time to do it right now, so I hope we get this other bid in and we get it approved right away, that we get everything we need, because the prison population is down right now, but that is gonna change in a hurry. So it's gonna be, it's expensive. For this part of the phase of the project, I'm happy with that cost. I'm not happy with it, but I was really expecting more because of the amount of time and work that has to be done on that tank part. So we'll see what happens when we open the next bid, and if everything meets specifications per the engineer, and hopefully we might be able to award it next week.
So Amy also asked if the family promise motion now gives kind of the green light for the purchase to take place.
Yes. Yeah, now they have the funding, it's official.
Yep.
We had the agreement with Family Promise to release the funds to them so they can make that purchase of that church and proceed with that homeless shelter.
And there was one more in reference to the motion in regard to the CLEAR program that the sheriff is running, and we've asked Amy to reach out for more details on the particulars of that.
And I do have something on that.
You wanna
I can either give it to them or, but Tony had actually sent this, and they were
Okay, got
asking about the CLEAR program. And it said, he sent this, the CLEAR program is a background investigation program utilized by law enforcement agencies that consolidate several search engines in an efficient manner. The benefit is a more rapid response as opposed to searching each database separately. We will use the service primarily in our warrant service duties in an effort to promote office efficiency. Thank you.
Now, will you take questions on that?
Well, no, if you have any questions, I can get, or the answers, I can get them for you, but I can't tell you now.
Anything else? That's it? Okay.
Seeing you again.
Thanks, Ellen, for staying. I appreciate it.
Kelly. Oh,
If you wanna like sit where you were sitting, on the table.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thanks, Alan.
Okay. Yes, we'll get that
Hey,
set
Greg,
up.
you mind if I move my name?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just don't want you to be confused, you know?
Larry said he faxed.
People know who you are, Travis.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, good.
So I mean, I don't know if that's all right or what. And then I don't know how them other ones are.
I'll take a look. Are you going to Waterbury Monday morning for the construction meeting?
But, Ellie, am I going to the
Melissa,
Weatherly for
let
the
me turn this
construction
off.
meeting?
Sure.
That's why
She's in
screaming.
charge of my schedule.
When is it?
Monday, he said. I guess I'm gonna have to get,
I'm gonna have to look.
Because they're getting toward the very end.
yeah, I